Lauren, people believe that HR only exists to protect the company, not the employees. True or false?
False. I think that HR really plays a role to protect the company, but also protect employees. And they have to help, leadership and employees find that synergy of how they can best move the company forward and
Mhm.
how they, engage their employees, how they make sure their employees are feeling supported, feeling motivated in their careers, feeling like they are fulfilled in their careers too. So I think it's kind of finding that nice balance between the two that really helps move the companies forward while supporting employees.
I agree. And you've worked with tons of companies here in the area. I'm curious though, have there been times that you've seen stuff that really works for the employees and then stuff that really just doesn't land well? What's the happy medium there?
I mean, I think you're always going to have that. I think if you're working with companies and you're working as an HR partner or you're working with HR, the best situation is when you have a team whose goal is really to help improve the company, help improve the day to day of the employees. So finding that balance is ideal, but I think sometimes companies try things, and it's a miss, and that's okay. But I think if you're being transparent with your employees and communicating behind why you're doing things or why you're enforcing a new policy, you're going to help build the trust of the
Mm,
employees, and they're going to understand, why are we doing this? Why are we making these changes? And if something doesn't work, just own up to it and say, hey, we tried this. We thought this was going to work and it didn't. Here's why. And here's what we're going to do differently next time. So I think kind of just communicating and having transparency with employees is super important to show the good, the bad, the ugly of
mm.
running businesses and running companies and helping your employees, really.
Absolutely. I think having that level of transparency and giving employees a peek behind the curtain really can solve so many issues that don't even need to arise. I
Mm-hmm.
think, so I work in manufacturing, and when I go out onto the floor, I really don't want someone to see me and then just run in the other direction. I feel like, there's an element to HR that's just something that we're always going to have to stick with. But I think just letting them know, should we let them know every move that we're making or just give the grander why? What do you think there?
I don't think you have to show every move you're making because there's a lot of stuff that you maybe can't share.
Mm,
Right. So I think having conversations around, what is important to share and maybe what you can't share is what companies need to focus on. Whether they're doing quarterly town halls or weekly updates, like there's so many different ways you can communicate with your team, but the communication is key, and finding that right timing and frequency that makes sense for your company is ideal. But I think
yeah.
it's just being there. It's not just hiding behind a desk or not hiding on your floor of the building or your wing, right? You want to make sure you are being present and
Right.
being available and being someone who can feel like someone can go talk to, right? So kind of being open is
Mhm.
important.
You're one of the biggest names in our industry, in our area. You
You're
really are. I
so,
mean,
I don't know
no,
about that.
I
Jay.
no, but you really are. What has been your guiding force in this industry?
I love working with people. I love helping companies find solutions. I love helping employees or job seekers find solutions. So for me, when it comes to what I do as a business owner with Staff Buffalo and HR Buffalo, it's really building relationships. So my goal is to build relationships with different companies, with different leaders in the community, with different employees in the community so that they, can realize that maybe I can help them with something. Maybe Staff Buffalo or HR Buffalo can help solve some problems for them. Whether it is working with a company and they need recruiting support, they need to hire employees, they know that they can come to Staff Buffalo to help with that. Job seekers, maybe they're feeling stuck in their career. Maybe they're just thinking, kind of open to that next step. I'm happy in my job, but I don't know, I just don't know what else is out there. Well, I
Hmm.
want them to be able to come to me and Staff Buffalo and our team there. And whether they talk to me or talk to one of my amazing team members, I want them to know that we're here for them, right? So
Right.
we're here to support companies. We're here to help support people in their careers. And I think I love what I do, and I thrive off of, building those relationships and being that resource to companies and to people. There's no better feeling than when you can truly partner with a company or a hiring manager or a business owner and help them navigate challenges that they might be having. Again, whether it's
Mhm.
HR, whether it's hiring, and providing that solution for them. And there's also no better feeling than when you're working with a job seeker, and whether we can or cannot place them in a career opportunity or a job opening, I hope that we somehow provide them some sort of guidance in
Mhm.
their search. So even if, we talk to them about a job and it's not the right fit for them, just having built that relationship so we understand more about what they want in their next career move, we're able to help them in the future. And if we can't, well, let's point them in the right direction. Let's direct them to who else they can connect to in the community. Let's provide them with some support for their resume. We offer resume formatting services. We offer interview workshops. So there's different ways we try and be supportive of people in the community. And I think that's what kind of really is my driving force, is just helping, helping businesses, helping business owners, leadership teams, and people just navigate their day-to-day and their jobs and their careers.
Absolutely. I feel like there's been a shift in the hiring market today as compared to 3-5 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
What are your thoughts around that?
I think it's always changing, but, I've said for the past probably 6 years now, almost 6 years since COVID, and I hate still bringing up that word and that time period, but it was a major disruptor to our daily lives and the workplace, and hiring has changed since then. And I think companies have to do things differently, because what's really shifted is job seekers they want to find an opportunity that really fits them, their personal and their professional lives, right? So they're being a little bit more diligent about where they're going to work. They're doing more research. They are, looking online, they're checking reviews. They are wanting a good candidate experience when it comes to hiring and going through the job application and interview process. So, they want responses. They want communications. That one of the biggest frustrations I hear from job seekers is that they're applying and they're not getting any sort of response. So companies need to keep that in mind of how they are presenting themselves and their company and their job openings online, and if they're communicating with job seekers. So at Staff Buffalo, we've actually added like another business line to our recruiting to help companies navigate this. So it's our talent optimization service. And what it really is it's a lot of fractional recruiting. So we act as their internal recruiter, and we help them to optimize their hiring function. So it's everything from recruitment marketing. Do you have a social media presence? What does your website look like? Are your jobs on your website in addition to being on LinkedIn or Indeed? What is the process like if someone applies? Is it easy? Are you losing someone in the process because it's too long or it's redundant? So we help kind of streamline that and use the technologies that they use. If they have an HRIS system or an applicant tracking system, we help to optimize that and set up automation so candidates are receiving responses when they submit their resume. So they just want to hear, was my resume submitted? Because now a lot of job seekers are also hearing, well, my resume is getting screened by AI. It's getting screened by AI. I don't have the right words. they're not even going to see my resume. So it's like, how do we work with them to make sure like a candidate knows that their resume was received? Right. So it's all those things. And then we we post the jobs, we vet the resumes, we do the phone screens, we're communicating with the candidates. So we're helping to, move that process along, but also improve it from a company standpoint. So it's much more efficient and optimized process, and they're targeting better people for their organization and hiring better people for their organization. But it's also making sure that the candidates are having good experience as well.
So I'm so glad that you brought up AI, because I think it's a huge question that a lot of candidates are posing concerns about. Thing from highlighting certain areas of your resume, making sure things get past the ATS system. Should they be worried that deeply about it? Is it that deep?
I think the best thing for a job seeker to do, I think AI is a very helpful tool. What they could do always is, have AI help them maybe rewrite the resume if they're feeling stuck. But don't just take that resume for what it is that AI spits out. You have to double check it. You have to make sure you make it your own. You have to make sure there's no little white lies in there. You want to make sure it's really showcasing who you are as an employee and what you've done in your career and the skills that you have. So it might be a good way to start the process, but I also think, and then the job seeker needs to tighten it up and finish it and make it beautiful and right and accurate. But then what I always tell job seekers to do is to look at a job description of the job they're applying to. And if your resume doesn't have some of the skills that job description is asking for, then you have to either add those skills if they are something you have, right? Don't just add a skill if it's not something you have because it's not a job posting you want that job. That's going to come out real quick in an interview, or if they hire you, and then you're going to be looking for a job again if they realize you can't do the job. But really tailor your resume and make sure it's tailored to jobs you are applying to. Because that's going to be the best way for the hiring managers to look up and look on your resume and scan your resume for the experience that they're actually looking for. So I think, the AI is a good place to start. but you can't just overly rely on that when it comes to resumes and helping write resumes and applying.
I completely agree. Let's give the listeners a little bit of a look behind the curtain in terms of almost careless AI usage. What are some of the dead giveaways that maybe you'll see on a resume or a cover letter?
I have seen, you know how an AI will tell you to prompt something like your email address here?
Mm-hmm.
People sometimes will just copy paste and they don't actually look at that stuff. And so you see the prompt and they don't put their email address in. And so you're like, okay, this is totally AI. So that's definitely a dead giveaway. We've been talking a lot in our office and on our team about M dashes. So that long dash,
Mm-hmm.
that's a dead ChatGPT AI giveaway that you've used it to help write. So sometimes you can tell your ChatGPT to not use M dashes. So that's another strong giveaway. Also, I've noticed like just when it comes to an email, for example, a lot of times ChatGPT will break up sections with like a little line.
Mm-hmm.
And someone who doesn't get rid of that little line, maybe they use it on the resume too. That to me, that I'm like, that's ChatGPT. Like, delete that line out because it
Right.
kind of shows the format style that ChatGPT uses a lot.
How are candidates showing up differently today?
That's a good question. I think that candidates are showing up differently in the regard that they kind of know what they want, sometimes more so. So they're not afraid to ask for certain days work from home
Mm-hmm.
or certain amount of PTO or negotiate salary. They'll be kind of upfront with that, which I think is good and bad, right? Like I think sometimes if you're that picky right off the bat, it's might be a turnoff to the hiring manager, but also is a good way. Like if you want certain things and this company can't provide that for you, then it's not gonna be a right fit.
Right. Right. And you'd rather do that from the get-go than get
Right.
90 days in and figure out that it's not for you.
Exactly. Yeah. And no one wants to get into a role, and no hiring manager wants to hire someone in a role if it's not going to be for a long term.
Absolutely. Have you noticed any mistakes that candidates make that are quietly killing their chances in an interview? Maybe they think they're knocking it out of the park, but they're doing this one thing that is slightly killing them.
Yeah. So we've had a couple candidates lately that rave to us about how great the interview went and they thought it went so well. But then our client tells us, oh, they showed up 20 minutes late. And we're like, how? And so, and with no call, like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry I got stuck in traffic or whatever it might be. There's just kind of show up and don't think anything of it. And like, they knock themselves right out of candidacy. Like our clients are like, nope, they can't show up on time. Like they're not moving on to the next round. Right. And they don't think anything of it. So like, there's so many simple things you can do to interview and show up well to an interview. You get there early, you do your preparation, you have questions prepared for the end of the interview. Like don't ever walk out of an interview and say, oh, no, thanks. I think you answered all of them. Like that's shooting yourself in the foot too. And so you want to make sure like you are overly prepared for an interview. You're showing up early. So if you get lost going to the interview, well, you still have time if you're planning to be there early to navigate where you need to be. Know who you're meeting with, have your questions prepared. Like all those things are so important. And candidates still don't do those. And to me, there's some of the easiest things you can do to make sure you make a good impression with the company and with the hiring manager.
For sure. It's so easy to stand out just by doing a couple of those small points in the beginning. So bringing to my next question about the questions. When we're interviewing candidates and we ask, do you have any questions for me? Let's break it down into a simple framework so people could walk away with some actionable steps. What do we really mean when we ask that?
I think there's a great opportunity to ask the person you're interviewing with more about the company, more about the culture, more about maybe what brought them to that company, why they stay at that company. Those are great places to start, I think, for an interview. Mm-hmm. I tell a lot of job seekers too, people like talking about themselves. They want to tell you about their career and what their career path has been like. So if you're stumped on questions, like that's a great place to start is just, hey, tell me about your career path. So I always tell candidates too, like have your 3 questions prepared, ask about the hiring manager, ask about culture at the company, ask about, opportunities for professional growth at the company. And it doesn't have to be like, how many years till I get a promotion, right? Like, but do you offer professional development? Are there courses that I can take? Do you allow outside professional development events, like going to a BNHRA event? There's different things like that. And like, kind of what finds what's supportive, and that helps you find if the company's gonna be a good fit for you as well. So those are great places to start. If the interview is going well and maybe those questions were answered, you're probably having a dialogue with that hiring manager, and questions maybe popping up in your head too. So I always tell candidates to keep a notepad with them, write down questions that maybe have come up during the interview.
I think the relationship with a candidate and a recruiter is such an important one, right? Because getting a job, getting that offer, it's a life-changing experience. But in certain situations, that trust can be broken. How do you recommend candidates who are maybe new to the job markets, how do they forge a strong relationship with their recruiter?
I think it's always good to talk to a recruiter. At Staff Buffalo, we are a third-party recruiter. So we work with a variety of different clients. So when we talk to a job seeker, we may or may not have a job for them today, but you never know. We might have a job for someone 3 months from now, 3 years from now, 6 years from now. We don't know. What we do all depends on our clients and their hiring needs. So it's always good to just have that relationship with the recruiter so that we understand, where you're at in your career, what your qualifications are, and what would get you excited about a next opportunity. And if that changes in a couple of years, check in with the recruiter. Say, hey, I'd love to catch up. I've been here for X amount of time. I'm ready, and open to the next opportunity. Let's catch up. You keep a list of candidates, and you're very engaged with your candidates. I know you are a great recruiter. You're genuine. You truly want to help people. So I know the people that aren't even qualified for jobs that you are interviewing them for, you're probably still giving them good advice and helping them and kind of offering to be a resource for them in the future.
One of the things that I actually coach a lot of candidates through during the stages of the interview process is negotiation, because I think there is this idea that we need to be grateful just to get an offer. So we may not be exploring the different pay structures or getting that extra PTO or,
Benefits.
You're right. Exactly. You're willing just to offer me a salary. Boom. I'm signing on the line. What do you say for folks who may not know how to negotiate?
For us, it's a little different because when we're submitting them to a client for a certain job, they're probably already within the parameters of what our client, wants, their needs for that role, whether they want to pay. We've probably already gone over the salary range with them, the benefits. We like to know about all of that ahead of time from our clients so that we are best equipped to matchmake with candidates that are also looking for the same things. But things come up. Maybe, someone was looking for 4 weeks PTO, but they only offered 3. Well, we try and talk through it with the candidate to understand, hey, if we can get you 4 weeks, are you going to accept the opportunity? So we kind of coach them because we're that intermediary, but we want to make sure it's the best fit all around. Now, if they can't do that, but they gave an amazing salary higher than what they're asking, it's okay, you kind of got to weigh what you want here, right? So it's kind of, it's just having open communication and conversations.
Yeah.
Between
Absolutely.
all parties. And you don't get what you don't ask for. So it doesn't hurt to ask. You kind of find that nice balance and happy medium of what might make the most sense and get you to where you want to be to accept an opportunity and be excited and happy in that role.
If a candidate doesn't check all the boxes that a job description is asking for, should they
Yeah. I think, probably 80%. If you meet 80% of those qualifications, you should apply. I think the job descriptions maybe have nice to haves, not need to haves. So pay attention to that. So if the job description says required qualifications, make sure you have those qualifications. But sometimes they have required and they have preferred. So you don't have to have all the preferred ones. So kind of just, read the job description, do research into the company. And if you're like, this sounds right up my alley and I meet 80% of the qualifications, well, then it's definitely worthwhile to apply. But if there are certain requirements, like a certain degree or professional certification or license that is required to do the job, and you don't have those, probably not going to be the right fit for the role.
Yep, fair enough. What are candidates obsessing over that really doesn't matter?
The expectations for work from home. And that has been a deal breaker for some of my clients. We've had candidates that, for example, I had one candidate that received an offer and they were negotiating work from home time. Now, it wasn't just, I'm just used to work from home 2 days a week. I'd love to work from home 2 days a week. It was, I don't have childcare, so I need to work from home. That's a lot of distractions. Kids need attention. So, that was a deal breaker for my client. And that's, I think, what people want, flexibility to work from home if needed. If your kid is sick and you don't want to take sick time for that, and you have the capability to work remotely, one day or one afternoon because you have to go pick up your kid from school and they're sick, Well, then you can work from home. Like having that flexibility without using PTO is huge for people. Or you have a contractor coming to the house and you just need to be home because you got to like, let them in and out of your house or monitor things. Like that's fine too. Things come up. We're humans. And I really think the best companies are the ones that allow for that flexibility for their employees because the employees don't feel pressure of being at work versus missing work.
What will hiring look like in the next few years?
Great question. I'll get back to you in a few years. I don't know. I mean, I really don't know what we can, expect from it. I think AI is going to continue to play a role in hiring. But again, we're working with humans. I think it's super important to maintain the human element to hiring, but just using AI in different ways to help maybe be more efficient in hiring practices. But, I think we are seeing a lot of people coming back into office, and I think there's going to be a lot more in-person interviews again. Yeah, I think time will tell.
All right, before we wrap up, if someone out there is just feeling the exhaustion, constantly applying, constantly reaching out, trying to network, but they're not, the needle isn't moving. What do you say to them? How do they hold their chin up? How do they keep going? What's the vibe there?
Jay, I think you had a post the other day that's similar to this question, and it just takes one. One application, one connection with a recruiter, a hiring manager, an HR professional to get you that job. So you got to stay, persistent. You got to stay motivated and positive. If someone's feeling exhausted and worn out by it, take a little break. Don't feel like you have to apply tomorrow for more jobs. Take a couple days off, give yourself a break, maybe reset, and then, start over. Because it can be mentally exhausting, can be mentally draining, but you have to make sure you're taking care of yourself. To make sure you're putting your best foot forward and having a clear mind about the jobs you're applying to as well, and then interviewing for. And if you're just feeling exhausted and beat up and you're going into these interviews and you're just like, oh, here we go again, well, you're not going to put your best foot forward. And a hiring manager is going to feel that, and it's probably going to affect you from getting the job. So, if you're feeling burnt out and tired, take a couple of days off, reset, and then kind of just regroup about, maybe what your focus is in your job search. What type of companies you want to apply to? What job titles are you applying to? And be strategic. Only apply to the ones that really get you excited.
Right.
And then you're going to be more excited when you get that email response that they want to interview you. And when you go into interview, and you're going to put your best foot forward that way.
Absolutely. With a renewed sense of energy. Lauren, I really appreciate you spending time with me today and going over some of this stuff. Your time is so valuable, and you have put such a great spin on the whole candidate experience. I've interviewed with you in the past, so I know it firsthand, and I'm really appreciative. Thank you for spending time today.
Thank you, Jay. No, I was honored. You asked some really good questions, and I hope it does help a lot of listeners, whether they're job seekers or hiring managers, find some insight in what it's like working with recruiters and working with HR and hiring managers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.